and tastings. Open weekdays from 10 to 4 and holiday Saturdays from 11 to 4. For more information, call 481-WINE. That's 481-WINE. And don't forget a bottle for yourself.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA. Ocala.
All right, thank you for tuning in. 22 minutes before 11 o'clock. My goodness, our next guest has an amazing story to tell you. You know, sometimes when I try to think how to introduce a guest, Robin, I will often try to find something in my own life that I can find similar, at least somewhat similar. I don't have one in this case. This next story you're about to hear is one that'll, it's such a great story. I mean, it's got a really hard beginning and some really sad parts in the beginning. Just your heart goes out to our next guest in his younger days. Donald Loring Brown is his name. He's on the phone. He's written a book called The Morphine Dream. When I first saw the title, I was trying to figure out, well, I knew it was a memoir, so I was trying to figure out exactly what it was. Well, it's not only a metaphor, it's an actual truth. He actually had a dream while he was being treated for pain with morphine, and the dream was basically indicating to him and in his belief system, I guess you might say, that he was going to do things that other people would think were just impossible, like attending Harvard, for example, Harvard Law School, walking across the United States of America. Interesting story. He went on from some very very bad beginnings. When he was 13 years old, his father committed suicide. We'll start there. He dropped out of school. He joined the Marines, which is a good thing, I would say, and we thank him for that. But he just, everything he wanted to do when he was younger didn't seem to be coming together. And then one day he had this dream while under the influence of morphine. Former standout Sandlot baseball player, a well-regarded defensive tackle on a professional team in the New England Conference. He is an attorney, so he must have met his dream of going to Harvard. He's a college professor, a lecturer, and he's a guest on our show, and I'm honored to be able to say that. Donald Loring Brown. Good morning, Donald.
Thank you so much. It was a very nice introduction. Very kind.
And where are you right now?
I'm sitting in Westwood where I grew up. I just moved here a few months ago, and I just got back from tour. And I'm sitting on a bench outside my apartment thinking that something's wrong. Spring is here already.
And where's Westwood? Where's Westwood?
It's right outside of Boston, about 20 miles west of Boston.
Oh, okay. So
a little tiny town, a very nice place.
And so you've got nice weather there right now, huh?
It's about 60 degrees.
Not bad.
It's
Not
really
bad
nice.
for Boston.
Here, it's very nice.
So let's talk about the beginnings, because the beginnings weren't too promising. Did the bad stuff start when your dad committed suicide?
No, the bad stuff was there all along, from birth till he committed suicide, and then it continued on for another 20 years before I finally figured out what to do.
My goodness.
But it's what ends well is good, and it's ending well.
All's well that ends well, yeah. May I ask why your dad committed suicide? Does that help us understand your story at all?
Well, no, he was manic depressive, but that was in a day before anybody knew what those words meant, and there was no psychiatrist and there was no magic medicine. He just suffered and one day decided to take his life, which was the 40th time he tried.
Wow.
First time he succeeded.
Wow, 40 times. Okay, so what were your dreams as a young man? What did you want to do?
I want to play baseball. That's all I ever thought about.
And you ended up playing baseball, but not the way you thought you would, right?
Well, I played, and I did very well for a short time, and then my eyesight began to deteriorate from diabetic retinopathy. I was born with diabetes, and so the diabetic retinopathy took away my ability to hit a fastball, and when you can't hit a fastball, you don't play baseball anymore.
Oh, wow. And you had something happen that put you into a wheelchair. Are you still in a wheelchair?
No, I'm walking now. I had some surgery after many years of being in a wheelchair that corrected the problems because technology had improved to the point where they could fix things that they couldn't fix earlier.
Wow.
But I was in a wheelchair for 6 years, and that's when I started to go to college.
Wow. You didn't even have a high school diploma at that time, right? When you decided you wanted to go to college.
Right, I never even went beyond junior high school. I quit junior high school and went in the service. And, I didn't know that I had an ability to be educated. In fact, they told me in school that I was not educatable.
Oh, my gosh.
And that I should get out of the school before I was the oldest one in the United States in junior high school.
So you did. So you got out.
So I left. On my 17th birthday, I joined the Marines, and when I came back from that, I started to play baseball and did well for a couple of years, and then it began to deteriorate. And I came back to Boston and didn't know what to do with my life, so I decided, what the hell, I'll play football. And I tried out for the Patriots, and I didn't make it beyond the final cut and got sent to a practice squad and stayed there for 12 years. And it was a good time, good career, but, it doesn't lead to anything.
Yeah.
And when I was done with that, I had to take a job in a factory because I didn't have any skills or any education. I go looking for a job, and they'd say, what can you do? And I'd say, well, I was a pretty good football player. And they'd say, yeah, but what can you do?
Yeah, right.
I have to admit the truth. I didn't know how to do anything.
But now the factory...
So I got a job in a factory, and I got hurt really bad in an accident there, and that's led to many hospitalizations and eventually the surgery, after which they gave me morphine just for one day. And that day I was listening to a motivational speaker, and he said, write on a pad where you want to be in 5 years, and I wrote Harvard Law School. And he said, turn the page and write where you want to be in 10 years, and I wrote Walking USA. And then I wrote, as he told me, write a list for each of those things and start doing them one at a time. And I did it. I just believed I could do it. It sounded simple. Of course, it wasn't simple to do, but it was simple to write the list. and then just each day start checking the things off, start doing the things on the list. And it works. Dream it and do it is my slogan. If you can dream it and make a list of what you got to do, you can do it. You can do anything. Everybody can. It's whether they want to or not.
And that's something admirable about your character, sir, is that you persevere, you move forward, even if people tell you you can't do something, you go ahead and do it.
Well, that's kind of an inspiration to me to do something when somebody says I can't do it. When the doctor said I couldn't walk across the country, I said, watch. I did it with a smile on my face.
So the morphine... Did the morphine kind of do something to you? And I'm not trying to imply that everybody should take morphine.
No, I know, and people often say to me, why don't you take it again? But, it just started my creative juices flowing, I guess, and I had thoughts I never had. I never thought about Harvard Law School in my life. I never even thought those 3 words. And yet that's what I wrote. And I don't, I think part of it's spiritual. I don't know. I don't have an answer.
Yeah,
when people say, why'd you pick Harvard Law School? I tell them honestly, I don't know. I didn't pick it. It picked me. And the same with walking across the country. But there was a little bit behind that. I knew that if I ever got to walk again, I really wanted to walk. So I used to think about, if I can walk, boy, I am going to walk.
How did you...
And, I walked 20 miles a day as soon as I got out of the wheelchair.
Oh, wow. So how did you provide for yourself while you were walking across the country? Did you come into some money somewhere?
Well, I had owned a big company, and I sold it, and I got the buyers to sponsor me, and they put up the money for me to do the walk.
Oh, wow.
It was very expensive. It cost a fortune, but it was so much fun. It was the most fun I've ever had in my life. I mean, for 4.5 months, I was seeing America everywhere.
How much of the book...
It was beautiful.
How much of the book is about the walk?
Maybe a third.
Okay.
If that.
Where'd you start?
And another third is about education, and another third is about life's lessons and how I learned them.
I gotcha.
Since you started college in your 30s, you must have been an inspiration to the other students who were just out of high school.
Well, of course, I hear that now, but I didn't hear it then. Back then, they didn't want to talk to me. Now, when I go to a reunion, they say, oh, my God, how did you do it?
Oh, wow.
Come here with a family and all that stuff. Well, I didn't have a choice. I was in my late 30s, and I couldn't walk anymore, so I had to get an education, because how was I going to to do anything, and I wasn't satisfied with, sitting at home and being disabled and being on the dole. That didn't satisfy me at all. I mean, I didn't want to be that. I wanted to have a life.
Who was the motivational speaker you were listening to? Do you know? Do you remember?
Anthony Robbins.
I wondered.
Well, Anthony Robbins.
Yeah, I wondered if it was him.
I mean, he's fascinating because you listen to him and it all sounds so easy, and the reality is it is. If you just listen to what he says and do what he says, you can turn your life into whatever you want it to be.
Has he heard your story?
Even if, I'm not sure. I mean, I think he has, but I don't know. I'd love to go do some work with him because I do motivational speaking all around the country.
So how long ago did this happen? How long ago did you have the realization, I guess, the dream part of this?
The dream part was 81. It was in the late summer of 1981 after a horrific string of surgeries.
So it
was September of 81 that I started community college.
We had Anthony Robbins as a guest probably 88 or 89, something like that. So he was already...
Yeah, he's fascinating. He really is. And of course, when I was listening to him, it was when he was first speaking. He was just a young guy himself. I mean, really young. He was much younger than I was. And, what he said made a lot of sense. It seemed so easy, and it seemed like, that makes it all sound easy. Well, it is easy to write the list.
So
not necessarily easy to do it, but...
Tell me about the decision to write it as a memoir and then release it as a published book.
Well, I always wanted to write a book about the walk, and when I originally wrote a book about the walk, people weren't interested in it because who's interested in a walk? But when I changed it to include all the other stuff, I used the walk as the vehicle to lay out the rest.
Yeah.
And I learned about, stories is what people want to hear, so I told a lot of stories. I told stories that my publisher loved. She said, put this one in, put that one in, figure out a place to put it in, and that's what I did. So the basic story is I'm walking across the country, I'm telling you how I got an education, and I'm telling you about my life all at the same time, and then when I get to the end, I'm sitting in the ocean, I tell you I graduated from Harvard, and it's over. But and you know who I am after that.
Wow. And are you still practicing law?
Oh, God, no, I'm retired. I travel all around the country. I just got home from 6 months, 180 cities. I travel around the country, and I go to senior residences, like luxury senior retirement centers, and speak to 40, 50, 60 people at a time, 4 times a day, 7 days a week.
Oh, wow.
And I just got home from being on tour forever. I'm exhausted.
How much support did your family give you when you were going through all this trials and tribulations and into school and beyond?
I guess as much as you could expect. I had a lot of support, and a lot of people helped me because it's not possible to do it yourself. You have to avail yourself to assistance and resources in order to gain, significant stuff in your life. And going to Harvard Law School is not some easy chore. There had to be 1,000 things that happened along the way so I could go, and a lot of people made it possible. I would say my major support came from academic professionals, whether professors or administrators, and they helped me so much, with my academic work and with understanding the process of how to get into a place like Amherst College and a place like Harvard Law School, which are very, very difficult places to get into. And it's reserved usually for people whose birthright it is to go to those places.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah.
Right, yeah, I know.
You had that hurdle to
No,
overcome.
it was an amazing story, really, Donald. Donald Loring Brown is our guest. His book is called The Morphine Dream. It's his memoir, and it is a fascinating one. And I even am fascinated by the story that you tell as to why we now have a book about a walk, and combined with the whole motivational experience that you went through. Did something change within you, psychologically maybe, during that walk?
Yes. Well, of course, the major thing that came from the walk is I thought I was going to go see the country and discover the country, which I did. But I discovered me. I discovered great secrets about life. When I was sitting in the ocean at the end, when I walked into the ocean in San Simeon, California, I sat there realizing I still didn't know what to do with the rest of my life. And it was such a terrible, depressing experience to have completed these two wondrous dreams. And I'm sitting in the ocean thinking, oh my God, I don't know what to do for the rest of my life. And I realized that life is about dreams. We got to keep dreaming. You know, if you reach some dreams, great. Dream some more.
Yes.
Because that's what life is. Dream it and do it.
That's
if
exactly
you can
right.
dream it, if you can dream it, you can do it. All you got to do is write a list and do it.
And you never gave up.
I never give up. never give up. And I have two sons who are the same way now.
Oh, wow.
They would never give up.
Well, your
Because that's
father
all they
gave
ever
up.
saw.
And the irony is
Well,
that...
no, he didn't. He didn't give up because he, you know, he had this mindset of giving up. He was just tormented by this disease that he had. He was a good man, and he taught all his children how to work, and he taught us all how to not be drinkers and druggers and smokers and all that stuff. He gave us great values, but he was always falling into the depression hole from this disease. And you know, he killed himself because he felt that he was hurting his family with his constant depression. You know, and his problems with depression, he believed that was holding everybody back. And I think in a way he was right, but, you know, that wasn't the way to do it. But back then there was no answers like there is today. There was nobody to go to.
That's right. Did you write about that in the book?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's terrible that, you know, medicine hadn't advanced to the point in the 50s where this man who was tormented could get some relief. Today, if you had what he has, they give you medicine and psychiatric therapy, and you do fine. Lots of people live with that, but you know, back then there was nothing.
Now, a good.
And it was sad because he was a good guy.
Oh, that's awesome! I love that you said that. There's a sort of thinking, I guess, that a good storyteller will start with something and then lead to something else. And obviously, you're telling a true story, your story. But I'm wondering, you sound so positive, and I'm wondering if you were reluctant to put in the negative stuff, the early stuff that was.
No, I wasn't reluctant. The book is filled with the negative because life is a bunch of ups and downs.
Yeah.
And I'm positive because I've learned in this experience, especially since I was in my late 30s, that if you're positive and you think positive and you think about good positive things will happen. And if you walk around thinking negative, a bunch of negative stuff's going to happen. So what do you want to be negative for? You know, I just don't believe in negativity. I'm not the cup is half full. I am the cup is full. And I don't want to hear about empty.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to hear about it because it doesn't come into my mind. And, you know, life is ups and downs. For everybody. There is nobody in the world who doesn't experience the waves of ups and downs. And the book is the ups and downs. It has the ups and downs. It's not all flowers and roses and sweet, you know. It's got the moments because it was tough.
You had said that you got your kick-ass motto from the time you were little under your dad. Did you hand that down to your sons? Is that what they live by also? Because that's ultimately.
Yeah, my sons are absolutely like that, and the biggest joy in life today is to watch my sons, you know, because they're doing great. And you know, one of my sons just had some difficulty, and he sent me the letter he wrote to the person, and he said, "I will never give up, never, never, never." That's the way they've been brought up.
Oh,
you know, I had a great moment many years ago when my kids were about 10 and 8. I was doing a 3-day Avon breast cancer walk, which finished on one side of Memorial Drive in Cambridge on a Sunday after I'd walked Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So Sunday morning, I'm walking along, finishing this walk on Memorial Drive. On the other side of Memorial Drive, my two sons are walking in an AIDS walk.
oh my gosh.
I didn't tell them to do that. I didn't tell them to do it. They just did it.
Wow.
They're doing the same thing I was doing, you know, helping other people, raising money for charities. That's part of life. And, you know, my oldest son went off to work in the White House, and now he's in the Library of Congress as the director of music. and my youngest son is graduating from Loyola and hopefully going to Harvard Law School in the fall, and also going to work in the White House.
Wow, very.
And they've done very well, and they've done it on their own. All they do is they do what I did. They work hard and they go towards their goals, and they dream. They dream all the time. My oldest son wrote a thing when he was 2 years old that he wanted to play the piano at Carnegie Hall. By the time he was 7, he was there.
Oh, wow.
Then he came to me and said, Dad, I really want to play the French horn. And I said, well, I haven't finished paying for the piano. But he played the French horn. A couple weeks later, he wrote a paper and said that he wanted to play the French horn in London Philharmonic. 3 years later, he was.
Wow, at the age of 10.
It's been like that. All his life, it's been like that. He's been to Carnegie Hall 4 times as a performer in 4 different things: piano, French horn, singing, and conducting.
Wow.
He was official Army national anthem singer all around the country at football games and NBA games and stuff like that.
Well, you're an inspiration and a motivation for all of us. The book is The Morphine Dream. We live in a world where many people are considering themselves victims. They're defeatists, and they won't allow themselves to dream. This story will encourage you to go ahead and dream anyway, in spite of whatever difficulties you may believe you have. The Morphine Dream is an awesome story. I have not read it entirely. I read enough to know about it, and now after this interview, I can't wait to actually read the book. I went to your website, themorphinedream.com, so I'll share that with our listeners. How else can we get the book, Donald?
Amazon.com, or all the electronic, Kindle and Nook and all that stuff have it. And the links are right on my website to be able to go to Amazon and purchase the book. Actually, Amazon's the only place that has it now. It's out of stock right now. We've sold so many that the book is not available right now except at Amazon.
Oh, wow.
And we're waiting for the next printing to come out, and I've been doing Barnes and Noble all around the country, and they can't keep them in stock.
Right.
So there's, if you walk in a bookstore, they don't have any.
Wow.
Which is common today. It's hard to get a book from a first-time author. You can go into Barnes and Noble, and they'll have 10,000 James Patterson